Welcome to a new episode of Dev Drawer. I just wanted to do a recap on what I've been up to in 2021 thanks to you and your support. I'll try to post the links to all of the videos I go over in this recap just in case you want a refresher or if you've not discovered them yet. Again, I just wanted to say thank you to all of my subscribers. You guys turned this from a hobby into something I never thought I would do. It's because of you and your support I continue to learn and hopefully help you along the way. For everyone just watching the videos but not yet subscribed, thank you as well. I've built up a small community here, and even if you're not subscribed yet, I hope you learned something too. In this video, I'm going to go over what I've done in 2021. Thank you all. I love you. Here's to a new year and new tutorials. I started the year kind of strong with what would become eventually my most viewed videos of my entire channel. I did a series on how to create, test, and implement a custom API using PHP. This tutorial was, I think it was 4 videos, and it basically went over, how to create the PHP code that comes from a MySQL database, how to use Swagger, how to use Postman. I kind of all put it all together with JSON Web Token, JWT authentication. So it was a pretty involved tutorial series, and so far my subscribers love it. It's the most viewed content that I have on my entire channel, so thank you for that. I also taught you how to create a custom WordPress plugin from scratch. This was a very simple plugin. It basically allowed you to create a custom post type, to create shortcodes, how you can set up a plugin to deactivate it and activate it and have certain functions that go with that deactivation and that activation of the plugin itself. It showed you how to integrate the icons and how to display all of that inside of WordPress's administration. So this was another one of my popular video series just because I kind of go from start to finish on some of the things that you really need to know how to do whenever you're working on a plugin for WordPress. In February, I kept it kind of simple in the hopes I could help some people learn about my setup. This month, I showed you how to use VS Code the way that I do, how to set it up and make it look like the way that I have it set up using the add-ons that I have on VS Code, just so whenever I'm doing these tutorials, it'll kind of help you kind of grasp some of the things that I'm doing with your own VS Code setup. I also showed you how to properly use Google Chrome developer tools. It was a light month, but hopefully it put us on the same page, so for future tutorials, we were able to kind of follow along with each other without you wondering, how am I doing this certain part of it. So March and April was a very busy month for me. I created a new series that showed you how to create a website using Elementor and WordPress. In total, the series ended up being about 5 hours long, and it gave you my perspective from the design phase to the rollout phase. Initially, I showed you how I designed the project in Illustrator, how I ended up creating the initial theme that we're going to be using with Elementor. So it's not using the theme itself, it's actually using Elementor as the front end part of it, but for the back end, it's all custom code that uses Elementor. So if you ever want to get into WordPress to kind of figure out how to create your own theme, this is a great way to get started, and it shows you how to keep that Elementor aspect of it as well, so that whenever you're going to create a website for an individual, they don't need to know how to do custom PHP code or custom HTML or CSS or anything like that. They basically just drag and drop like you see on the screen right now, and they can help, you can help kind of set up the blueprint for them to build their website, but let them be able to customize it with colors and images and all this kind of stuff using this pretty cool plugin called Elementor, in case you've never heard about it. So this entire series kind of goes from start to finish, and I give you my entire perspective all the way up until the rollout part of it. I went into detail about how to create the custom theme with custom post types in WordPress using PHP code and again Elementor. So if you watch the entire series, you can see how I built a real-life client website for a lawyer. in May, I started my tutorials light by creating a Star Wars intro using CSS and JavaScript in honor of May the 4th. Essentially, I just built what you would normally see if you're a fan of Star Wars. You'll know why May the 4th is important. Basically, it just shows you how to build the initial, the title screen for the Star Wars movies as they come out with the scrolling text and everything. I also went into how to build out another series that kind of developed a pure JavaScript front end using an external API. So in May, it was May the 4th using Star Wars. In June, that's whenever I kind of got heavy into this other series. I ran into some difficulties this month because I chose the wrong API for use on this project. Essentially, the API was not completely fleshed out, I guess. It's not something that I built. It's something that I found online. I thought would be kind of cool to be able to show you, how to build off of an API that you didn't necessarily build. But I should have done a little bit more research on it before creating the series, but in the end, I made it work. Essentially, the series gives you an idea how you can pivot if you're stuck with badly coded anything, so badly coded API or just badly coded software. Also, if you haven't seen it, at the very end of the month, I created a new website. I launched a new website for the Dev Drawer. So if you haven't visited, go do it now. I have video recaps, blog articles, partner offers that may help you with tutorials, so you can kind of see all of my videos in one place. They're filterable, so you can see specific types of code that you want to work on. My blog is relatively new on it. I've only done a few blog articles, but you can kind of see in detail some of the code that I do for that. So again, if you haven't visited my website yet, it's www.thedevdrawer.com. Just go over there and read through some of the articles. Click on the partner links. They do help with the channel because they are partner links. So if you click on those, I'll get a little kickback for it. But they are helpful with hosting, solutions that I've used in the past, hardware that I've used, stuff like that. So again, just visit the website, www.thedevdrawer.com, and you'll be able to see this new cool website that I built specifically for the YouTube channel. In July, I started working more on front-end CSS and JavaScript. I wanted to get more into it. I've always done PHP stuff, as in my programming career. So I wanted to be more hands-on with the front-end stuff. So I started working on custom CSS solutions, vanilla JavaScript solutions. I created, front-end tutorials that showed you how to create a password generator, as well as a weather forecast that pulls real-time data from an external API. So a few cool tutorials if you want to learn some CSS and some JavaScript. I've started doing a little bit more of those instead of just primarily focusing on the back-end code. So this was the first month that I really kind of dove into that on my channel. In August, I continued with front-end code and creating tutorials that teach you how to do a JavaScript-only to-do app, a light mode, dark mode switcher for your website. And I also finished up the entire month kind of switching back from front end to PHP or back end code by telling you how to create your own PHP autoloader, because I've used that in a few of my other tutorials. I may not have gone into a lot of depth into what the autoloader does, but essentially I showed you how to build your own rather than having to import other code. And finally, I went over common htaccess rules for your server. Again, this month created one of my newest, most watched videos, which will be the htaccess rules. So if you haven't seen it and you want to learn how to do some customization on your server, the htaccess video would be pretty cool. Also, FYI, my birthday is in August, so in 2022, if you see any videos that pop up on August, stop by and say hi. In September, I taught you how to properly use GitHub to manage your repos by creating a sample repo for just some HTML code that I can show you how to edit. And essentially, it just created a way for you to push out something to GitHub the right way using command line. I also introduced GitHub's new online editor, and I finished out the month by showing you how to convert MySQL data to an API JSON format that we could use in future projects. In October, we took the API that we had created the previous month, and I showed you how to grab things using Vanilla.js, so using the fetch method. And we were able to use Vanilla.js to pull from the API relatively easily, just to kind of create this login system, just a sample login system, so that you can figure out how to do that without having to modify PHP code. I finished out the month by giving you a way to create a really cool, simple blur effect using only CSS. It's something that I had seen on some websites, and I just figured that would be pretty cool to show off. In November, I taught you how to convert a static HTML website to a React project. So you basically take this HTML that you already have, and I show you how to use import and how to render the HTML files using React only. So I thought that was pretty cool. It was kind of my first real visit into React. I've done some things previously, but this was kind of a way for me to kind of get into it, and I wanted you guys to learn as I was learning. And I also showed you how to become a JavaScript console expert. This is a pretty cool tutorial if you use console in any way. Basically, it gives you the ability to do some pretty cool things. Instead of just doing console log, it shows you some really cool things. They were short and fun, but they brought a lot of new attention to different tutorials I was already doing. Finally, we reached the end of the year. I wrapped up 2021 by teaching you more about JavaScript fetch and JSON web tokens. Basically, the JavaScript fetch, I've already went over it a few times, but I wanted to go into a little bit more detail about how you can kind of produce some of these errors and finish off the tutorial that we started in September. So this is kind of like the final version of what you need in order to create this. And then, doing JSON web tokens is something that we can always add to that kind of a project. Just basically creating a way to do a JSON web token without having to use something like Firebase, JWT, or anything like that. We just create the tokens ourselves. But during this month, YouTube actually surprised me with a partnership and membership options. So if you've not checked it out, take a look at becoming one of my first members. It's a great way to support my channel and get insider information directly from me. So in case you don't know, I could have not done any of this without your support. Thank you for being part of my viewers and my subscribers. If you're not subscribed, join the squad and let's do this in 2022. My channel has grown so much in 2021 that it kind of took me by surprise. I think my channel is still very small, but I see a great future on YouTube and with you as my audience. Be on the lookout for any upcoming videos where I'm going to announce something important. You don't want to miss my next few videos. 2022 is going to see some big changes in my channel, but don't worry, I'll still be providing the same type of content for you to use and learn from again. Thank you for all of your support, and I will talk to you later.